this is the Innovator of Violence, Tommy Dreamer, and you're listening to CNY Podcast, giving you all your podcasting wrestling experience to the extreme.
Welcome once again to the CNY Wrestles Podcast. This is your host, Mike Jones-Ability, coming to you from Syracuse, New York, as usual. Big week in professional wrestling on a national level. Roman Reigns relinquished the Universal title, took a leave of absence from WWE to heal from leukemia. He'll be going through treatments, I'm assuming. We haven't heard too much about this disease and how it's affected him over the last 11 years, as he said. So maybe tonight on Raw we'll hear a little bit more about the battle that Roman Reigns is facing coming up. It was a classy move to see the WWE fans in attendance at Raw that night actually cheer for Roman Reigns instead of booing him or chanting that he sucks. So, you know, there is hope for wrestling fans. More big news coming out of that night. Dean Ambrose turning on Seth Rollins at the end of the show. Many people are questioning why they had that turn on the same night as Roman leaving the company for a while. Some said it was in bad taste. I thought it was a pretty well-executed storyline. And it had a little bit more shock to it coming at the end of that night because I think everybody expected just Dean and Seth to win the tag team titles and close the show on a positive note. But I think the show ended with a bang, and Dean Ambrose turning really was necessary at this point in time in WWE. Really need a strong heel, and so does Seth Rollins. He needs a strong heel to work with. Last night was the first ever all-women's WWE pay-per-view, Evolution. We got a new NXT Women's Champion in Shayna Baszler. She defeated Kairi Sane for the NXT Women's title. Becky Lynch defeated Charlotte in the last women's standing match, in which was clearly the match of the night. And Ronda Rousey retained against Nikki Bella, keeping the Raw Women's title. Question why they closed the show with Ronda and Nikki when Charlotte and Becky was a much better match, but who are we to say what was the right match and the wrong match to end the show? Coming up in Central New York, we have on November 17th, New York Championship Wrestling will be presenting tag title Turmoil at the Whitesboro Accelerate Sports Complex. I think it's 6 o'clock door and 7 o'clock bell. The organization's going to crown their first tag team champions that night. So far, the details are still coming in slowly about that. We know there's going to be a multi-team match to crown the winner. Tonight, we're going to talk to the liaison to the general manager of New York Championship Wrestling and wrestler himself, Tino Caesar. He's going to tell us a little bit more about what's going on in the future in New York Championship Wrestling and what his role as the liaison actually means to New York Championship Wrestling. Tino Caesar, my first impression of him was a Dynasty event in Rome last year, and he came out as a broadcaster and he interviewed Richard Holiday, and they had a good back and forth exchange. And then later on, I didn't know too much about him at the time, but, you know, he is a wrestler. He was trained in the United Kingdom while he was in the military. And he's wrestled here in the States for several different promotions, and he's also a broadcaster for wrestling and for MMA, and also for some high school sports in the Capital Region. He's just an all-around nice guy, and you'll hear that in this interview. So without further ado, I'm going to bring in our guest tonight, Tino Caesar. Tino Caesar, welcome to the show. Thank you for joining us. How's it going?
It's going great, man. It's great to be here, finally.
I know. So you've pretty much done everything there is to do in wrestling. You've been an announcer, a manager, a wrestler, and now you're the liaison to the general manager of New York Championship Wrestling. What exactly does that entail?
Well, I am the mouthpiece for the general manager. You see, the general manager is a very, very busy guy. And when he can't be around, I am the person they call to get the message out. I am the mouthpiece for the general manager. Consider me his assistant, if you will. Like, all those people that you see, Kim Kardashian or somebody like that, and all the little folks are running all around that person. I'm one of those guys. And I apologize, that's my 4-year-old.
So you, fans in Central New York know you from the Dynasty events, and as recently as just a month ago, you were wrestling. When did you actually start competing in the ring after announcing?
Well, everything started for me in the ring. One thing a lot of folks don't know about me, some may know, some may not. Yes, baby, we're talking about Halloween. I trained to wrestle in the UK when I was stationed there in the military. I was in the Air Force for 12 years, and I actually trained as a wrestler in the UK. Went through the training, graduated. I wrestled a small handful of matches, and then I got orders out of the UK. So the base that I went to, I was in Portugal, and they didn't necessarily have pro wrestling there, so my wrestling career as a whole kind of got put on hold for about a good 12 or 13 years.
Right.
Well, I finished my time in the military, and then I came home, came back to the capital region, hooked up with the Dynasty, and as I say, the rest is history.
Would you rather be a competitor or an announcer?
That is a very good question. That is a very tough question to answer. Everybody that steps in the ring, a wrestler would love to wrestle as long as they can, because after a while of being away from the ring, we call it getting the itch. You want to get in the ring, and you want to compete, and you want to do everything you can, to improve not only yourself but also the business. I am the kind of person where I love being involved in the business as a whole. I love this industry. I love this business. I love everything that comes with it. So being involved as an announcer or a wrestler is perfect. But if I had to choose, I would rather be a wrestler, to be honest with you.
After the last Dynasty show, we heard that Chris Envy and Mike King were splitting. Mike King's going to go his way. Chris Envy's going to go his way with the Dynasty.
Right.
Do you have any plans to follow either of them or both of them?
Well, right now, I know as much as the fans do. I know basically what I see on social media and what I hear through the grapevine. Just like everybody else, we're still kind of in shock that it's happening. But in the same sense, you understand these things happen. To say I'm going to follow one or follow the other, I'm going to support any independent wrestling in the area that I can. I'm not going to sit back and claim loyalty to one or the other. I support every single organization that, wants to put on a show, because we're all one big community. We are all one big community. And I think it would be detrimental to the wrestling community for folks to come out and say, oh, well, I'm supporting so-and-so over so-and-so because of this reason or anything. The independent wrestling community is like one big family. We support each other, and I hope, I support Mike King in his venture. I support Chris Envy with the Dynasty, of course. I support everybody.
And we know Mike King, his new promotion called Immortal Championship Wrestling is going to debut on December 1st. Have you been contacted about participating with that just yet?
I have, and that's something I'm discussing between myself and Mike King. But yes, I have been contacted.
Do you know in which role? As a wrestler or a broadcaster?
Again, that's something I'm working out with Mike King.
Okay. And beyond that, or actually before that, we have New Year Championship Wrestling's tag title Turmoil on November 17th.
Yes, that is going to be a huge event. Not only huge, but it's going to be a ton of fun. The card is still being put together. We have a number of great teams that are going to be a part of this awesome event. The card is being put together. We're structuring the tournament in a way to provide each team the best opportunity to be crowned the first ever NYCW Tag Team Champions. But not only that, put on an awesome show for the fans. And that's really what's most important, is making sure that the fans come home with their money's worth. So definitely keep an eye open for that. Definitely keep your eye open for any future NYCW shows. Not only do we have Tag Team Turmoil on November 17th, but also in December, we have Seasons Meetings coming up. That one's going to be a lot of fun. So just make sure you keep your eyes glued to social media. Morse code, semaphore, whatever it is you use to communicate, because more details are going to be coming out very soon.
And when we talked to Johnny Patches a couple weeks ago, he mentioned world title would be coming early next year. Any chances we'll see you compete for that title?
I'm an old guy. I don't know. See, back when I started in 2004, I wrestled a lot of young kids in the UK, and there was tough talent over there. And being away from the ring for 13, 14 years, I come back and I paid attention to the independent scene between now and then. The amount of talent that's out there, I'm not going to lie. A lot of these kids would run circles around me, but you never know. You never know. Like they say in this business, you never say never.
With your status as the liaison, could you make that happen?
I could do whatever I wanted to, really, but I don't know. Like I said, never say never.
And I can't not ask you about your participation at the Dynasty Diamonds Are Forever event. What the heck happened there?
That was a bad decision. Myself and Morgan Tyler, or Tyler Morgan, as the event started, we were contacted. Chris Envy called us up, and he says, hey, we got Diamonds Are Forever. We want to kick off the show with something memorable. So I said, great. And he told me, he says, hey, why not make this the return of Tino Caesar to the ring, and so on and so on. So we said, that's fantastic. So we got out there, and we were getting ready to start the match, and of course, Vanity came out. She took umbrage to the fact that two men were kicking off an all-women's event. So backstage, I pulled Tyler aside, and I said, hey, look, if we're going to get on this card, we got to figure something out, bro. We got to do something here. So we snuck into the women's wardrobe, found a couple dresses, and the rest is history. But I paid for it, obviously. I had to sit on some ice for quite a while. And I deserved it, to be honest with you. I deserved it. But no, Diamonds Are Forever was an awesome show. I am extremely proud of all the ladies that took part in that event, especially Christina Marie, the Diamonds Division champion, our first Diamond Division champion. She has more than earned that title. If you pay attention to her on social media, if you see